Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derek G and AJ.
Folks, the fight game is not for the faint of heart. This weekend, we saw broken legs, blown out knees, black eyes, the whole entire gamut. But that's what we love about this sport. What's going on, folks? My name is Derek G. I am your host, and welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. This week, it's the post show for UFC Vegas 36. That's right, I'm talking UFC Vegas. We have a week off coming up, but guess what, man? We got some fights that we need to break down. And before we do that, let me bring in my co-host, AJ, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself. What's up, brother? You coming off of another strong 4-1 week. You're 9-2 in the past 2 weeks, man. So it's been a very healthy surge. How you feeling, brother?
Brother, I tell you, I needed those wins back to back, man. And I can see that number catching up right on that bottom, man. We getting close. But like I said before, when I was on the L streak, we got a short memory out here, brother. We on to the next one. I know we got a week off, but we on to the next one already, brother. Got to keep it fresh, keep it moving, and keep that dub streak going, man. How you been?
I'm living good, man. I'm not too good because I did under 500 on my picks this week, but I told you going into it, I was taking a couple shots. I was going against the grain, trying to gamble a little bit, and you got to risk it to get the biscuit. Guess what? I risked it, and listen, I took a couple of L's this week, but it's okay because it was some really, really fun fights, man. Got to enjoy the afternoon fight. So let me ask you, it was a little bit earlier for you. We were talking about that, man. What did you get to do after, man? What did you experience for like a Saturday night? Because oftentimes covering this sport, we don't know what a free Saturday night is, right? So me and the lady, you know, we went out, got some food, went and got some Asian food, fried rice, the whole nine, you know, watched the new clickbait TV show on Netflix, man. Come on, it was a groovy night. You dig? How about yourself?
Man, that sounds better than my night, Derek. I was locked up working, brother. I was trying to grind that money game, you know. Thankfully, hopefully we'll get a couple more subscribers and this will start paying the bills so I can stop off that game. So make sure you click that subscribe button, hit the likes, hit us with a comment. But brother, I was working all night, man. So I had to recatch the episode, recatch the fight game, and yeah, man, stayed in with Berger. You know how it goes.
I dig it. Let me just ask you, man. Would you prefer if that, like, the majority of the UFC cards were this like starting at 10 o'clock noon spot as opposed to 4 p.m.? You know what I mean? I know it's different. We're on different time zones and whatnot, but generally speaking, starts in the early evening, goes pretty late. You know, do you like the afternoon spot better?
I would much prefer that better, Derek, especially because I know the fight card previous to this one, the main card was starting at like midnight my time, man. And it was, you know, I'm getting a little older, 30 years old, man. I'm starting to go to bed, man, nodding off. So no, I much prefer it whenever the main cards, you know, they're hitting at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It ain't that bad.
I dig it. So yeah, they did put that there for the London viewership because this was supposed to be a London card, but nonetheless, man, it was a nice little treat for us folks that cover this week in and week out. Nonetheless, folks, I went 2-3 on the week. AJ went 4-1. He's catching up, man, so I got to stay on my P's and Q's, but let's recap a little bit of the action. Before we do that, drop a like, subscribe. AJ already told you the whole gambit on why it's important, and what's really, really important on top of what he said is that go rate us on your favorite platform, whatever you listen to podcasts, but most importantly, Apple Podcasts. Go rate us 5 stars so more people can reach the show, see the show, boost us up the algorithm. You dig. All right, folks, let's do a little bit of recap, AJ. So, you know what we do, photo collection, best photos of the weekend. Photos a little bit big here, so let me pull it down a little bit, man. And this is just the grit, the determination of Meatball Molly McCann in her fight of the night effort against Ji Yeon Kim, Fire Fist Kim, you know what I'm saying? And listen, man, she got the 50K bonus. You see the intensity in her eyes, but this is a two-parter, and she was very, very emotional because this was her first win since 2019. More specifically, this was her first win since, well, actually, I thought I had the month, but no, she's 4-3 in the UFC, first one since 2019. Tell me what you think about this photo, AJ.
I like it, man. You could tell the passion's right there for it. She had literally the entire crowd on her back. The England crowd was there. They were supporting it up, and Meatball was bringing it, man. It's yeah, you love to see it, especially she's dominating. She's like, come on, let's get it. I love this. This is a great picture for the Meatball, man.
So it's funny, though, because I'm going to give you the second part of it, and you saw the intensity. I believe this was in the third round of the fight, which, come on, bring it, right? And then this is her immediately after winning the fight. This is her hugging, you know, damn near crying with Michael Bisping, because it was a very emotional moment for her, man. She needed to get back on track, and she needed to put on because, you know, them London cats, them Liverpool cats, they needed to string a couple good wins together today, and she kicked it off very well, man. So tell me what you think about that. Do you think I don't think she was bleeding or whatnot, but there have been instances where fighters, you know, they get their bloody face all on a commentator's nice jacket and whatnot. You're Michael Bisping in that moment. On one hand, are you like, hey, man, it's all love because we England fellowship? On the other hand, back up up off me, man. Don't get no blood on my suit. What you think?
Nah, I think it's all love at that point, man. You know how hard it is to get in there and get it done. You know, you scrapping basically what it feels like for your life in there, man. And I think as Michael Bisping knows, you know, you give him a hug. It's as much as people like to think this is a big macho game and this is a game of emotions, and you can tell Molly McCann's emotions are riding high on this one, and she really wanted it out there.
Absolutely. Big one for Meatball Molly McCann. Now let's cleanse the palate a little bit, AJ. This is, I don't know who this next individual is, but it's just a gnarly photo, and I want to know what you think about it, man. Are you continuing to fight? I just want to say he continued to fight after this injury that he suffered, but would you continue to fight if you had a hematoma the size of a goddamn, you know what I mean, a potato on your head? What do you think?
Whoo, that is, I don't know which one's worse, that or Ioanni and Jacek's, man. Oh man, that's you know what's so scary about that? That's like brain damage right there, man. I don't I guess, yeah, you continue to fight till you put it out, but that's going to be a rough one. You know he's feeling it, and you know that headache is rough right there, man. You continue to fight after getting beat up like that?
No, I'm not. I'm calling it a fucking day, bro. You know what I'm saying? What are we talking about here? Listen, man, warrior spirit, warrior heart, but this is a dude who had to make a comment on Instagram because I found this photo on Instagram, and it was just people memeing him up, clowning on him, right? And he was all like, hey, how about y'all stop talking shit and you actually applaud me for my heart and determination? And, you know, people online don't give a fuck about that. They're just like, you look like a fucking alien, bro. So that's the thing, man. It's like we can't go to the bank and cash in pride. You can't go to the bank and cash in warrior spirit. You feel me? We love it. We love it in the sport. We love the mentality. But live to fight another day, brother. Come on, what are we talking about? Now, this next photo here, this is just a really big one. This helps us cover the prelims a little bit. There's only 4 prelims on this 9-fight card because one fight that a little bit after this, before we hit the fighter of the night, I do want to talk about a weight miss that happened. But this is Julian Erosa locking up a very sick Darce on Charles Air Jourdain. And I just wanted to tell you, man, I was telling you off air a little bit. In jiu-jitsu class, literally the day before the fights, we were taught how to do this exact Darce, and we were taught about the leg positioning and why wrapping the leg is so important. If Jourdain was able to kind of like hip thrust himself out and get his legs away from Julian Erosa, this choke would not have worked. This was in the 3rd round. This was a very close back and forth fight, but Erosa did just what he needed to do to lock up the Darce. Excuse me. Tell me just did you think that this was a possible outcome of this fight? We knew this had banger written all over it. Did you think a Darce in the 3rd was a possible outcome?
No, maybe a submission in the 1st, and all credit to Julian J. Erosa, man. Air Jourdain is absolutely talented on the ground, so able to get this done that proficiently and that perfectly, man, that's super impressive. I definitely did not see it coming, especially this late in the fight, man. What do you think?
No, I did not expect this to happen, man. I actually had a parlay that I was rolling on. I had hit my first parlay. The second piece was this fight to go to decision, and then he locked up the Darce with like 2 minutes left in the fight. I was hot. I was hot, but you win some and you lose some, man. That was just a very perfectly executed Darce choke, which is why I wanted to show it. Now, this next photo here, AJ, this was your sleeper. You know, this was Marc-Andre Barriault versus Dolce Lungiambula, and I just wanted to say, seeing a photo like this, sometimes it makes me smile. And the reason why is because you see Barriault landing a crisp right cross on the jaw of Dolce Lungiambula. His whole jaw, his face is just splattered out like that. But when you see the big dude, the big middleweight dude who's cutting a ton of weight to get down to this weight and fighting, and he's the one on the tail end of getting cracked pretty tough, I mean, it's just beautiful to see. So before you give me a response, AJ, just turn me down in the monitors just a little bit and just tell me what you think about, I mean, that's like justice right there. You know what I'm saying? That's the sanctioned cheating karma right there. What you think?
That's poetic justice or whatever they call it, Derek. Because, yeah, like you said, big dude coming down, you expect him to be the bruiser. But guess what, man? When you get caught on the end of those punches, it could be lights out, man. It could be a night over, especially when you're not expecting. You're kind of thinking, you know, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to bully this dude. And he catches you with a crisp one. That hurts.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this next photo that we have here, AJ, man, this is the supposed new cash cow of the UFC. This is the star of the UFC. Is this the new face of the UFC, AJ? We see a dude coming out of 1960s with the Beatles haircut, a starry-eyed Paddy, the baddie Pimblett. We'll talk about his debut in just a little bit, man. Just comment on this photo, man. I'm like, this is he's obviously a figure, but he's goofy, and I think that's why people love it. It's like the charisma of it. He looks like he's a 15-year-old kid in there, but he's whooping ass, man. So tell me what you think of the photo.
Man, as funny as this photo is, and as much as Paddy is probably the next cash cow, homeboy looks like a nerd straight out of Revenge of the Nerds, man. This is Paddy is he's the you gotta love it, you gotta love the style. You gotta come in with your own style, and it's best that probably he doesn't look like the next Luke Rockhold, because he can actually scrap. And it's good. It gives the rest of everybody else a little bit of confidence, man. You got that mom bowl cut hair going on. You think, you know what? Yeah, I got somebody in the UFC now too. So, and we all know that England isn't the best for their most, stylish looks and whatnot. They got the teeth action going and all that. So no disrespect to the England homies out there, but just recency bias, I guess, or what's the word I'm looking for? Blanket statement out there.
Yeah, I dig it, man. I will say that you hit it on the head right there. I do think he is uniquely his own, you know what I'm saying? He is his own goofy self, and like he's owning it, and he doesn't care what anybody thinks, and that's what's enigmatic about it. That's what's so polarizing and so attractive about it, is that he doesn't have to try hard to look cool. He's just being himself, and it just looks cool, you know what I'm saying? So we'll put that aside for now. AJ, man, it looks like we're getting a rematch, you know what I'm saying? In the near future, maybe, if everything works out correctly, man. But what we have here is a photo of Israel Adesanya and Derek Brunson in their original match, where Brunson got finished in the first round, but Izzy's flipping him the bird. Are we seeing part 2 of this? And I mean, honestly, just tell me what you think of the photo.
I mean, if all works out well and Derek Brunson's going back at it, man, I think the only thing we're going to see different in this photo is a blonde Brunson, because homeboy is different with it. And yeah, man, no, this is one of those great Israel Adesanya photos, even though he's getting the dub, he's still flipping off Derek Brunson. So as an Izzy fan, I love the picture, man. But I think we're going to see something maybe not totally different if they get the rematch, but we'll see a little bit better of an outcome for Derek Brunson.
For sure, and this is a multiple-part photo, so I'm going to take this one away, and I'm going to say this is what's leading to this photo, is you see Derek Brunson, he's doing the strap season, motion with his hands, tongue out. You see a defeated Darren Till in the back, and then, listen, man, this is just the next part right here. Rarely do you see a face like this on a man with such bravado as a Darren Till, man. I honestly think he is taking the right mental approach when he put up a photo of Charles Oliveira and Michael Bisping after the fight, talking about, yeah, they took their licks too, but they ultimately became champions. I think that's the story for Darren Till, honestly, man. He just has to figure it out. He's still so young, man. He's still trying to... It seems like he came in big in this camp, man. He looked very puffy and big. I don't know what was going on there, but I will say he took his loss like a man. He did it with humbleness, and I do truly believe we will see him back at the pinnacle of the 185-pound division. Give me your take just on this photo here, AJ.
Man, this is a rough one, because you could tell he's just like soul crushed. He's really hurting. Maybe not hurting from the fight, but hurting mentally, because he knew he got dominated in that entire fight. Man, he didn't come out like the Darren Till we were all expecting to come out as. And you can see, man, even though he's a ripped UFC fighter, he's sitting down, slunched over. He's got the rolls rocking. It's a rough look for him, man. And I can only imagine how bad he's feeling in this one. So good picture though.
Yeah, I would imagine this is something that if you're really serious about it, or you're just a crazy mental guy like me, you say, I'm going to take this photo, I'm going to frame it, I'm going to put it in my house, I'm going to look at it every day so I never have to feel that feeling ever again. Take the Goggins approach to it, man. But we'll see, man. All love to Darren Till, man. The Liverpool Cats went... I think 2-3 on the card, right? You know what I'm saying? So it was a good effort overall, but main event didn't get it done. Nonetheless, AJ, we'll move on to just a little topic I want to hit before Fighter of the Night, okay? So this topic, I just have to ask you this question, man. Jonathan Martinez was supposed to fight Marcelo Rojo this weekend. It was supposed to be the first bout of the card. We talked about it. It was my sleeper. Unfortunately, that bout got scrapped because Jonathan Martinez had a botched weight cut. He missed weight by 3 pounds and was unable to compete. And I don't know if he was just physically unable to compete or Rojo was like, no, I'm not taking the fight. So that's undisclosed. Nonetheless, this is not his first time missing weight as of late. He actually missed weight back in August of 2020 against Frankie Sanz, and he missed weight bad in that fight. It was about 5-pound weight miss at 135 pounds, but he came in at 140. So my question to you is that he won the fight against Frankie Sanz, where he missed weight by 5 pounds. The next fight was at featherweight against Thomas Almeida. He won that fight, then dropped back down to bantamweight, lost against Davey Grant, got knocked out, then tries to make bantamweight again, misses weight. Do you think, or let me rephrase it, do you believe that Jonathan Martinez's future in the bantamweight division is in jeopardy with this weight miss right here?
I think so. I definitely think he's going to need to have to move up, especially because you don't want to keep missing weight cuts and missing fights and then end up cut because of it. So might as well just jump up a weight class and get the fighting going, get back on your game. Yeah, I definitely, I'd rather see his time in bantamweight coming to an end rather than his time in the UFC coming to an end, especially for a great fighter like Jonathan Martinez, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. And so, literally in the last 4, he's 1-1 and bantamweight and 1-1 at featherweight. Might as well just make the jump. He's a little slow at bantamweight. He's got the power, just a little slow at bantamweight. I think featherweight might suit him a little bit more. Nonetheless, I think the people got robbed of a great bout. He got robbed of a paycheck. Rojo got robbed of a paycheck. This is just a terrible situation all around. You got to make weight, man. That's really what it comes down to. That's the cardinal rule in this game is you have to make weight. You signed a contract. You have to honor your agreement. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to cover that really quickly because I thought that was pretty important, man. Nonetheless, let's hit the fighter of the night, AJ. So this is a segment where we take the fighter who had the greatest storyline, who had the best performance, all the intangibles all mixed into one, and we come here and we want to shed a little bit of light because we get fight of the night, but rarely do we get a particular fighter of the night. So for UFC Vegas 36, AJ, who is your fighter of the night?
Man, my fighter of the night for UFC Vegas 36, man, is Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, brother. I mean, it almost set it up too easily. There was a couple others that I could have gone with, but Paddy, he came in, man. He got rocked. He got rocked. He almost got finished, but I loved it because he stayed cool. He stayed calm, man. He is the new face, and we even saw the googly ad coming up. He put the best picture we probably could have ever had of Paddy Pimblett. Probably not one he likes, and even his pictures on Tapology, they're not the best like looking, but you could tell that personality is there. I genuinely think this dude is the next big thing. Maybe not in MMA, maybe even not in the 155-pound division, but he's going to be making waves coming forward in the future. I don't know if we'll be seeing gold in his future, but we're definitely going to be seeing some checks coming in, and I'm sure Dana and the matchmakers are working on something nice for him, man. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, he came in, he did the job right, and he got it done. And like I said, he got it done in a fashion that gave everybody a show. So it almost looks beatable, which is probably a little bit better than just coming out and starching people right off the gate because he was untested. If he took that route, he wasn't able to see and everybody would doubt him a little bit. This one, they know he's got a little bit of chin to him. He's got some heart. He's willing to stay in the fight. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett got it done. Woo, and it was fun to watch, man. Who's your fighter of the night, Derek?
Well, I will say that one almost wrote itself, right? Paddy Pimblett comes in, UFC debut, easy fighter of the night, man. So definitely I see you there, man. I'm actually going to go with the first bout of the night, the winner of the first bout of the night, Marc-Andre Barriault. And the reason why I'm picking him as my fighter of the night is because I believe he had to overcome the most adversity to get to where he is at currently. Right now, he's looking like a problem in the middleweight division. He's looking like a dude. His nickname is Power Bar. He's got a real pop. He's tough. He could grapple. He could clinch. He could strike. He could do basically everything. He had some tough luck coming into the UFC, so that's why he's my fighter of the night. He started his UFC career 0-3 with one no contest before stringing together this 2-fight win streak right here, right? So that's why it's like you have to have a crazy mental fortitude to be able to take all the losses, all the pressure, all the adversity, bundle it up, put it into motivation, and then starch two dudes back to back. I mean, come on, this win over Dalcha Lungiambula is by no means an easy task. So to see him kind of handle Lungiambula, put him on the back foot almost the entire fight was so telling to me because he earned his respect almost from the jump, man. Like, this is a dude who's saying, I'm going to stare the Titan in his face and I'm going to walk him down. This is like gods versus Titans type mythology, but this is Marc-Andre Powerbar Barriault getting it done, man. I love to see it. It hypes me up because, listen, man, we get too caught up in the limelight, the glitz, the glam of the top 10, top 15s of these divisions, man. But there's so many of these prospects that are blue collar, that are putting their hard hat on and just going to work, lunch pail and a hard hat, going to work every single week in and week out, or every single fight. You know what I mean. Nonetheless, Canada's Marc-Andre Barriault, the soft-spoken Marc-Andre Barriault. He is my fighter of the night for UFC Vegas 36, man. The storyline, it came together so beautifully. I almost went Molly McCann, but I had to go Marc-Andre Barriault because I just thought that was almost too perfect. So with that being said, that's the fighter of the night, folks. So if you like the segment, drop a like, subscribe, rate us on whatever podcast station you're listening to, and, just show some love. Drop a comment, follow us on Instagram at Bloody Water Podcast, and on Twitter at Bloody Water Pod. And, I think that's all the updates that I got for you, folks. So let's actually hit some recap, AJ. We just talked about it, but I got to bring up another photo. Picture perfect, man. On the button right there. This is literally mid-motion capture of Paddy Pimblett dropping Luigi Vendramini, man. It was beautiful to see. It was a sight to see, and he got the big win. So, Paddy Pimblett, Let's talk about it, AJ, man. He had to overcome some adversity. You already talked about it a little bit, but I think what he had a little bit of remorse in his post-fight interview where he's kind of just being like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? I let these dudes hit me, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's my problem. I want to make a show. I'm a showman. This is what I do. And I was like, that's that Conor McGregor right there. That's that, like, you just kind of make your excuse or whatever. I told you from the jump, AJ. I said, Luigi Vendramini, watch out for this man's left hook. He has a mean power in his hands, and he's going to walk you down, man. He's going to come forward. He's going to come to fight, make it a dog fight. And he did that. And he almost, almost in another reality, AJ, would just be talking flipped. It would be Vendramini TKO round 1 because he had Pimblett hurt, man. He had him on stilts where he was wide-eyed looking like, oh. Give me your take overall, man. Do you think Paddy Pimblett can compete with the top 30 in the UFC's lightweight division right now?
I think he can compete with the top 30 for sure. Maybe not the top 10 at the moment. He does. What surprised me, we noted in the preview show, Derek, that Paddy Pimblett, he keeps his guard low, which, credit to him. Not punches are coming up from different angles. People aren't able to read it as well. But another thing we didn't see is he keeps his chin high. He's literally sitting there like an old school fighter, chin high, hands low. And that's how Vendramini caught him, man. He caught him with a dirty left hook. And he had, like you said, had him on stilts, had him wobbling a little bit. And I think that right there is what brought out the fire in Paddy Pimblett. And he thought, like, okay, I need to go in there and get this finish. And credit to him for actually making it a turning the publicity into a stunt and saying, I let people hit me, blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to get cracked with a left hook like that, man. You want to come out there and put on a star-studded show, leave with not a scratch on your face. But he almost got finished, man. Vendramini looked surprisingly well and did better than I honestly thought he was going to do. It was a good fight, man. What do you think?
Well, it's just tough, man, because I don't agree with your assessment. I don't agree that he can compete with the top 30 right now, man. Right now, as it stands, Pimblett comes in at 70. Vendramini's around like 80-something in the lightweight division right now. And to see Pimblett almost get put out by a Vendramini who hasn't had no success in the UFC so far, or I guess he has one win in the UFC, but he's had very little success in the UFC so far, is just a little troubling because this is a double champ in Cage Warriors. This is a dude who's supposed to come in and compete right away, but he's kind of getting like the Mason Jones treatment, right? Because Mason Jones was the double champ in Cage Warriors. Now he is 0-1 with one no contest in the UFC. So Paddy Pimblett, at least he got a win on the board. That's what's important, man. But you're right, chin sky high. The striking, there's much to be. How would you say it? There's a lot to ask for the striking still. I think there's some stuff to work on. That's what I'm trying to say. Ultimately, man, we do know that when it came down to the grappling, that was a little bit interesting, right? Because he's supposed to be the submission guy. He's supposed to be the dude who is like, man, when he goes to the ground, it's going to be a problem. Vendramini decided to take the fight to the ground with Pimblett a little bit, let him back up, and that's when the tide turned. But I will say what was most impressive about Pimblett is that he had the intangible, the mental fortitude to say, technically, in this technical kickboxing match we're having, I'm not winning these exchanges. I'm going to turn this into a brawl. And the moment he turned it into a brawl and made Vendramini fight his fight, he knocked him out. And that's the star power. That's the little X factor right there that I think will propel Pimblett further through the division. I think the UFC should do a good job and a responsible job of building him up instead of throwing him to the dogs. Just because you don't want to lose out on the star power that is Paddy Pimblett. Because listen, man, regardless win or lose, people are going to watch this man fight. I'm going to watch the man fight. I don't give a fuck. I'm watching. You know what I'm saying? I am a fan of Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. I just don't think that the hype matches the product at the moment. I think it can eventually, but at the moment, I don't think so. Nonetheless, very valiant effort by Luigi Vendramini, but Paddy Pimblett, he wins the UFC debut in dramatic fashion. 4 of his last 5 wins are via stoppage, and this is his 5th KO win of his career, man. And I wrote TKO on this. This was more of a knockout, man. He kind of just slumped Vendramini, where he was like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to fight anymore. So very impressive. Big win for Liverpool. Let's move on to the next one, AJ. So this is a question I need to ask you. This is a tweet right here, right? I'm going to read the original. It says, some dude on Twitter, he says, looks like someone has yet to experience the kick themselves in regards to the oblique kick Khalil Rountree threw against Modestas Bukauskas in their fight this weekend. He says, maybe you'll change your tune if and when somebody kicks you like that and snaps your knee, whatever the case may be. The tweet goes on. Adrian Yanez just replies. He says, I have experienced that type of kick. Just like any other technique, you have to address it and learn how to use it and defend it. My stance stays the same. And I actually really enjoy that take on it. So my question to you now, AJ, Khalil Rountree, an underdog, he defeated Modestas Bukauskas. He really was just wiping the floor with him, man. You know what I mean? He was winning the whole entire fight. But he ended the fight with a brutal, what some are calling it an oblique kick. When you look a little closer, it was just kind of like a side karate downward side kick. You know what I'm saying? But Modestas Bukauskas actually moved perfectly at the wrong time. So he moved his knee to where instead of the knee hyperextending back, he moved it to the side. So he just blew out the whole knee, just got destroyed. And this is a big 205er in Khalil Rountree, who's a Muay Thai kicker who's trying to kick the shit out of your leg. He ends up with a broken leg, probably a blown out PCL, MCL, LCL, all the whole entire good stuff, man. But the question now is this that everyone is talking about in the MMA community. Should oblique kicks be banned because of the damage that fighters will take? Modestas Bukauskas might be out a year after this fight. What do you think, AJ?
My only question is this any different than the heel hook we saw last week? I don't really think so. I think they're both dangerous. It looks different visually. It looks more aggressive. And this reminded me, I don't know if you remember the movie. I sent this to us on the snap or on the chat. But the movie Collateral with Tom Cruise. He walks in the club and just absolutely just blows out this dude's knee. Yeah, same. This is exactly what I thought of when Rountree hit that kick, man. And no, I don't think it should be. I think it should stay. It should not be taken out, because once we start taking out things like this, we're going to start taking out heel hooks because they're too dangerous. I already disagree with the 12-6 elbow rule. You know, there's things out there that aren't as crazy, and this is one of those things that just was the worst time the worst movement at the worst time. Modestas Bukauskas was in just the bad spot, bad timing, everything. When it rains, it pours. And unfortunately right there, it was raining down side kicks to the knee, and Bukauskas caught the worst of it, man. So no, I don't think it should be taken out. I don't think it should be, banned from the sport. I think that's a bad call. And like Giannis said, you just need to learn from it. It's a thing that happens. Everybody throws side kicks. They're going to throw it at your leg. They're going to throw it at your chest. They're going to throw it at your head. You just got to learn how to deal with it and which way it comes. And unfortunately, Bukauskas was just turning and caught the worst of it, man. What do you think? Should this be banned, or is this something you see pretty normal?
This is a very normal technique to me. And the thing that surprised me the most that no one's talking about is that Rountree actually threw the side kick and missed first, right? So Bukauskas saw it. And then he just let Rountree throw it again and then turned his knee perfectly to where the thing just got blown out, right? So it was ugly. You don't want to see it, but at the same time, you saw it. You feel me? So it's that's like someone saying I don't know, you shouldn't be able to throw elbows because it'll gash up your face too bad. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing, obviously, because people are obviously talking about the long-term damage that you're going to have, but I guess it's more equal to the heel hook situation. If that were the case, then Ryan Hall should never be able to fight then, right? Because that's what he's doing. He's Imanari rolling into a heel hook and just blowing people's knees out left and right. But that's also very important on why you will hear in your gyms if you train any type of martial arts, but especially like a jiu-jitsu, right? They will tell you, all right, this is what we're not going to allow in practice while we're training. No knee bars, no heel hooks, you know what I'm saying? If you grab somebody in a Kimura, do not crank that thing. That's not what the training is for. However, we're going to put you in a position to where you can try to work and defend these things in a very playful, trainingful manner, because when it's the showtime, when it's the real time, man, and someone tries that on you, man, you got to know how to defend. You got to know how to get out of these spots. So I just think it's another iteration of that. But the most important thing to me, AJ, is that we sit here and we have these recency biases because some things look really, really bad, man. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the beauty of UFC or mixed martial arts is its origins in Vale Tudo, no holds barred. You know what I'm saying? That's what the sport originally was. Obviously, you have to have a couple rules here and there, but at what point does it turn into Dana White? He said it himself. He was like, "Oh, what do you want next? We're gonna put a helmet and shoulder pads on these guys." You know what I'm saying? This is the fight game. What are we talking about? You know? I just think the optics were really, really bad because Khalil Rountree is a monster and he kicks really hard. And Bukauskas, he was a little, I don't want to say docile, but he appeared to be a little docile in this fight. You know what I mean? He was clearly starstruck. He said it himself after the fight that Khalil Rountree was his idol. He watched him on The Ultimate Fighter, all that good stuff. Man, I don't know. So ultimately, at the end of the day, no. Well, I think we're in consensus. No, it should not be illegal. And at the end of the day, John Jones is over there. He's having a great old time because he's like, dude, this is my move, man. Y'all arguing over my move, my oblique? Come on, what are we talking about, man? But at the end of the day, let's talk about not just the oblique kick, but the performance of Khalil Rountree Jr., man. This is as good, if not better, than the Bangkok-ready Rountree we saw against Eric Anders. So I picked against Bukauskas because I didn't know which Rountree would show up, but that's the hard part about being a fan of Rountree is that one fight, he shows up. The next fight, he doesn't. The next fight, he does. The next fight, he doesn't. So this is actually his first win since 2019. when he beat the brakes off of Eric Anders for 3 rounds, man. That was Bangkok ready Khalil right there. He's 5-4 in the UFC, which is a little surprising, but all of his UFC wins are via stoppage. Just tell me what that means to you, AJ.
Well, it's exactly like you were saying, man. He either shows up or he doesn't, which is rough because, man, Khalil Rountree, when he shows up, he is an absolute world beater. And honestly, in this fight, man, he came from the jump. He showed up, he was ready, and he was throwing some heat, bro. And what I liked about him, too, is once you could tell, I was like, all right, I'm cracking this dude. I got to calm down a little bit. He ended round 1 kind of on a lull, if you can count it that. He was still throwing heat and absolutely putting it to Bukauskas and putting Bukauskas on the back foot the entire time. But then he came out again in round 1 with the same kind of ferocity and the same kind of pressure and just literally made it notable that he was there for the scrap and not necessarily here, just to collect paycheck or just to fight it out. He was actually Bangkok ready, Khalil Rountree, and it was good to see. So the fact that he's going, like you said, 4-5 in his UFC tenure, it just shows that it seems to be kind of a mental game for Khalil Rountree. Either he's feeling the flow or he's not. And when he is, man, he's an absolute world beater. And it's going to be interesting to see where he goes in his future coming up, in the UFC. What do you think?
Well, absolutely, man. I will say that Rountree's 5-4 in the UFC, so give the man his credit. He's won over 500, you dig? But yeah, man, it just depends on which one shows up, man. That's what it comes down to. So it's really hard to gauge the progress of the man's career when you don't know how he's going to fight. You know what I mean? If he's literally like a different fighter every time he fights, which is very interesting. The biggest thing that I have for my takeaway from this fight is that he said something interesting in the post-fight presser where he's like, I'm not running away from my fears anymore. I'm confronting my fears head on. So clearly it's a mental thing, man. Like this dude is a specimen. He's stacked. He's ready to go. But there's something here that, listen, they all say they're scared. I think, I don't know, it was Aspinall, actually. He says, listen, every time I come into the cage, man, I'm terrified. But that's how I express myself. I come in here and I whoop that ass and I get rid of that fear. You dig? So come on, Khalil. We rooting for you. Bangkok ready. Listen, speedy recovery to Modestas Bukauskas, man. Nobody wants to see somebody have to be sidelined and not be able to provide for their family because of an injury that they suffered in the cage. But once again, it's just like crazy calf kicks, right? How about you check the kick or you move your leg away from the kick? It's just one of those things we have to learn from and move on from, but you never want to wish anything terrible on a fighter. And they actually had some mutual respect after the fight where Rountree says, speedy recovery, man, like, did not mean to hurt you. I just want to win the fight. That's really what it comes down to. So it's a good professional act by both of the fighters, but a big win for Khalil Rountree, man. Big win. Now, AJ, this next fight, man, I'm confused. Alex Morono got an incredible win. He had a very incredible win over David Zavada, excuse me. I just found out that's how you pronounce the German names. The W's are V's. So Zavada, David Zavada, Saget. Listen, man, I thought he was crisper. I thought he was faster. I thought he was throwing a little more volume, but he lost 30-27. And that's what confused me a little bit, AJ, is because I had it a little bit closer. I had it 29-28 from Morono. I think the third round when Zavada tried to grapple was his downfall. And I was like, they're both good at BJJ, but Morono's a better wrestler and he's a bigger guy. So that's what the downfall was to me. But how did you see this fight playing out, man? Because when I saw 30-27 from Morono, I was just a little confused.
I was also very confused with that too, man, because I had a 29-28 Morono as well. I thought Zawada did some real good work in the first and the second round. I had him winning the second personally, but I thought Morono, man, it was crazy the amount of not necessarily the volume, but the pressure he was putting on him, and then the heat he was throwing with that right hand, man. He was absolutely cracking Zawada, and so I was also very confused when I saw the decision laid out 30-27. You can never trust the judges. I don't know the judges that were in this fight, but it's hard to say because I think I'm not sure on the actual verdict, how verdict had it scored, but I'm sure they also had it 29-28. So what do you think?
It was like, so you know how they do decimal system and verdict. It was like 29 point something to 27 point something, right? So it's like, you do your rounding and stuff. It's closer to 29-28 than 30-27 clearly. But at the end of the day, man, I think the story here was damage versus volume, right? I thought Zavada was touching him up here every time, touching the body, jab, jab, you know what I mean? Morono winging crazy hooks, man. And he landed a beautiful, nasty spinning back fist on him too in the third round. It was gross, but it was amazing. You know what I'm saying? I love to see it. My question to you about this fight, AJ, is do you think Alex Morono can advance up the rankings with fighting the way that he fights with the big winging hooks and whatnot? It just seems to me, I'm like, dude, you're so skilled, but you're trying to just throw everything into every shot instead of just being straight, man. Like, what am I missing there? Why do you think that's not part of his game plan?
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't think he can get that far in the future in the UFC if he just continues to fight like a Clay Guida or Diego Sanchez, where they're just winging shots left and right. He might be able to be in that same kind of spot where they're hanging out in the mid 20s, mid 10s, of the entire division. But I definitely don't see him going far, like super far to the gold with doing that. It does make it a more fun fight and does make it kind of like it plays to the brawlers in all of us.
Yeah.
It does play to like the guys who want to see and they come in there and just a scrap, get thrown down. But in this game, you need to really be a technician. It's hard to not get those, or it's hard to get those dubs when you're just throwing shots out this, like, very far out and wide when people are just cracking you straight down the pipe. So yeah, it's weird that he doesn't implement that because he is so talented. And I mean, if we're saying it this year in this amateur, man, that they're out there doing that in Fortis MMA. He has great coaches, so it's weird to see it not being put into practice.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting too, man, is because he had a very interesting mental approach to the fight after. If you heard him say, he said, I approach this like medals, right? So a knockout is gold, submission is silver, decision is bronze, and I'm going for gold every single time. So he was all like, yo, like, why didn't, I think Bisping or someone asked him, like, why aren't you using your grappling? Because he's second degree BJJ black belt, and he was all like, well, it's hard to knock somebody out on the feet when you're grappling on the ground. And I'm like, well, good point, you know what I'm saying? I guess that is true, right? But at the end of the day, this was a very big win for Alex Morono. He moves to 9-4 and 1 no contest in the UFC. So regardless of what we're saying, the man is finding a lot of success in the big show, man. I mean, 9-4, that's very, very impressive. This is a Fortis MMA product fighting under Saif Saud, and Fortis MMA has just been killing it in 2021, man. A lot of their fighters have been picking up big wins, and they're clearly in a plus differential in terms of wins and losses on the year, man. So I will just say the last thing that I have on Alex Morono is that I would like to see a little more grappling in the future. I get the approach, man, but that's where he smothers his opponents, man. It's like they can't do nothing when he really does that BJJ on them, the wrestling and the BJJ mixed up. So we can move on to the next one, AJ, the co-main event. Tom Aspinall, man, he made very quick and easy work of the polar bear Serghei Spivac. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I thought Spivac would be able to last in there for a decision, get pieced up a bit, but still take it to a decision. But Tom Aspinall, listen, TKO round 1, man. The speed was way too much for Spivac, and that was really, at the end of the day, that was the story of it. Aspinall was the bigger man, the faster man, the more powerful man. And he says one of the big aspects of his training camp that prepared him for this fight is that he's training against bigger men. He says, I'm 6'5", like Tom Aspinall, 6'5", you know what I mean? It's a big boy. So he's all like, I need bigger dudes so that when I feel the strength of these guys I'm going against, it's not too troubling. And he says he felt like he was stronger than Spivac, which is like, that's scary, bro. Being that fast and that strong, that is so scary. This is the big thing that I want to ask you, AJ. Do you think that the run that Tom Aspinall has been on, right now he's on a 7-fight win streak, all 11 of his wins are via stoppage, and I believe he's on a 4-fight win streak in the heavyweight division in the UFC currently right now. Is that as impressive when I say that Serghei Spivac is actually the first fighter Aspinall has defeated in the UFC who has a ranking next to his name?
The finishing rate that Aspinall has is absolutely impressive. But I mean, I think it does. The finishing rate is a lot more impressive than the fact that this is the first guy he's finished with an actual ranking against his name. Serghei Spivac, all credit to him. He is an amazing fighter, but I don't necessarily hold him in the top upper echelon of the heavyweight division. I still had him as an up and comer, man. He's still, and all credit to Spivac on this one. He still has a good road ahead of him, and he can easily get back in there and get in the mix 'em ups. But yeah, I think the finishing rate and the pace and velocity at which Aspinall is actually putting people down and putting it to him. And like you said, man, he's on a 4-fight win streak here in the UFC. It's hard to do, especially now that he's ranked up, top 15. Where it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to keep that finishing rate going. And if he does, man, I think we're going to see very bright future for Mr. Aspinall in the very near sort.
Yeah, man. I think that he has forced his hand to now have to fight at least top 10 type fighters, top 12 type fighters. He already called out Blagoy Ivanov, made our job a little bit easy. We'll talk about that in the matchmaking in just one moment, man. But Tom Aspinall, he's coming for it, man. This is Frank Mir's long-lost cousin, you know what I'm saying? Wreaking havoc on the heavyweight division. You love to see it, man. But I will say what is the most impressive is that these two dudes kind of came up together in the UFC. They kind of started at the same time in the UFC. So to see that this was about that was supposed to be that Aspinall called out Spivac back when they were, first getting a couple of wins in there, and now he got the job done, finished him easy when so many of these dudes haven't been able to finish him. You look at Jared Vanderaa for an example, man, the behemoth of a man that is. He got smothered for 3 rounds by Serghei Spivac. Actually got finished, cut up bad. So for Aspinall to be able to avoid getting taken down and to just piece him up real quick, man, this dude is a parabolum, and I think. Listen, man, say I'm overreacting, say I'm hyping the man up. I think he could compete against top 5 heavyweights right now. Say what you want. I don't give a damn. Tom Aspinall is the truth, man. Shout out to him. Team Cowbon, shout out, man. Come on, I'm ready to see some action. Let's go. You got anything else to say on this one, man? Because he made such quick work. It wasn't much of a fight.
Woo, wasn't much of a fight, and Derek's ready to scrap for it too, brother. This is great work by Tom Aspinall, man. I like to see it, man. I do think he is the definition of the new type of breed of fighter we're looking to see, and I'm excited, man. We're going to see a lot more of his style coming out in the future, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And that's the thing right there, AJ, is that maybe he's a little bit bigger, but him and Cyril Gane, are they not damn near the same type of hybrid heavyweight? Like you said, this is the new style of heavyweight that's taken over, man. So y'all better come prepared, man. The plotters, your days are long gone, my friends. Apologies about it. All right, so let's move on to this main event, excuse me. Blonde Derek Brunson, man, he moves to another win, 5-0, man. Crazy streak. He gets the gorilla, number 9 ranked Darren Till. He got him out of there, man. And even though Till had his moments, this was very much a replay of Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland, man, right? Till got a couple good shots in. He landed that 1-2 a couple good times. Brunson weathered the storm, got the fight to the ground, and did some nasty ground and pound, man. I will say the difference in this fight, AJ, is that Darren Till, he showed that he had a little bit better of a performance in terms of not allowing the underhooks as easily, but Brunson was still able to get it, man. This is a BJJ black belt. This is an All-American D2 NCAA wrestler, man. This was a very dominant performance by Derek Brunson, man. But give me your assessment of Darren Till's performance. This is the first time we've seen him in a while. In his last fight, I believe he was supposed to fight Marvin Vettori before he broke his collarbone, and now this fight, took place, man. Do you think with the same effort he put on against Brunson, do you think he would have been able to get past Marvin Vettori?
I think so. I think Brunson, man, all credit to him on this one. Blonde Brunson is an absolutely different animal, man. He was dominant. And the crazy thing about this, and we all know on this show, man, I'm not a real big fan of the wrestling aspect. Don't get me wrong. I think wrestling is very important. I think it is one of the most one of the skills you need the most in this fight game. But previously, Brunson would just lay and prey on people, hump people to a victory, which we all hate seeing. It's a boring fight. He did not do that on this fight, man. He absolutely put it to him. And like you said, crazy ground and pound. But for Till, man, this was not what I expected to see. And it was, you hit the nail on the head, Derek. It was very much so like how Kevin Holland was excited to stop a takedown or excited to stand back up. Same thing with Darren Till. He got up after the first takedown with like patted Brunson on the back, like, "Ooh, all right, man, cool." He took that as a win instead of taking the actual fight as a win. And that's kind of where I knew. I was like, okay, we're not seeing the same Till we're used to seeing. We're not seeing, the gorilla come out and really get dominant on this one. He was happy to not be on the ground anymore. And that's not a good sign when you're locked in the cage with the man who's going to take you down more, as many times as he basically damn near wants. So yeah, Till didn't look as hot as I was expecting. I was expecting those hands to fly a lot more. And honestly, I was expecting that butt to hit the ground and him to stand right back up. We didn't really see that happen. We saw him, get down, get controlled. Those elbows were looking good for Brunson and I definitely think this version of Brunson is way better than a lot of the other ones we've seen. And I do think he can beat Marvin Vettori. If it was a hump off, I definitely think Brunson's going to be the one to get it done in that one. So I think Till can also beat Vettori if MMA math works out correctly in my mind, how we think it does, man. What do you think?
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I'm honestly not sure, just because at the end of the day, I think Brunson a little bit better of a striker than Vettori, just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just because he has that big lunging left hand that he uses to initiate the grappling. Vettori is more of a just kind of a stiffer, you know what I mean, tighter type fighter. But I will say the thing about Darren Till that's really worrisome for me is that though he has the mental fortitude, he has all the good stuff to become a champion. It's like he found out the 1-2 works, and then that's just all he goes to, man. It's just 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. You know what to expect. 1-2. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he brings in the left hook, but you don't see much else, and that's what I'm just kind of wondering. I'm like, you got good kicks, man. He barely threw his calf kicks this fight around. Obviously, you don't want to stick the leg out there too much, get the leg caught, get put into a takedown. But you got to have another approach, man. There's got to be something else you implement into your game. If it's not going to be grappling, if it's not going to be wrestling, it's got to be something else. Because the thing that surprised me the most is just how against Woodley and against Brunson, it's like once he hit the floor, there was nothing. There was no trying to feed on the hips, trying to escape, trying to do jiu-jitsu. So it makes me wonder on what his jiu-jitsu proficiency is and what his wrestling proficiency is. Clearly, the man can strike, but now you got to work on the other aspects of the game, man. So I just think he needed to get back into the gym. This was his first fight in a while, man. So if he's a little more active, I think that will lend to better results for Darren Till. But blonde Derek Brunson, man, he's a problem. He is a problem. 5-fight win streak, 2 finishes in his last 5 fights, and his last 2 wins have been against ranked opponents, man. So Darren Till and Kevin Holland, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to talk about matchmaking in just 1 second, AJ. I guess the last thing that I need to ask from you is, do you think that the big difference in previous Brunson versus blonde Brunson lies simply in, I think he's patient. I think that he's not rushing in crazy. That's what he used to do, just rush in crazy and get knocked out or get dropped or, get in a compromised position or be winning the fight until he does something sporadic and crazy and then he loses the fight. Now he's just patient, biding his time, not trying to get into these clashes, these car crashes too much, and then just trying to initiate the grappling as much as possible. Do you think that kind of hits it on the head?
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see he is very much so a lot more patient going forward. One thing though, Derek Brunson, he'll get tagged and you can see he instantly starts looking at the hips to shoot a takedown. That's this is game plan, so he does need to fix that a little bit. But I do credit, man, a lot of it goes to his patience, but also what I think got it done really a lot in this fight, and what I think he needs to start working on more towards is not that laying and praying, position over submission, but really putting the hurt on him on the ground. That was what I noted in this fight for Derek Brunson. He was really putting the hurt to Darren Till, man. He was cracking him on the ground really good. And it's a nice position where even if they do throw back something, a little back fist or something, it doesn't hurt you. But you're on top really putting your hand through their face. And he really showed that he has the skill to stay dominant and stay heavy on the position while actually do some damage. So that was my kind of big thing. I noted that was like the different maker for Derek Brunson in this fight versus all the other ones we've seen him going, which could lead to the patience you're talking about, where he's able to all right, instead of just chaos, let's get this going, he's actually able to think okay, take him down, pick the position, now start really hurting him. So
I will just say the last thing that I had to mention is that I don't know if, listen, man, all love to Darren Till, but I don't know if that was a sunk in choke that Brunson got or if it was all right, I quit. You know what I mean? Because Darren Till immediately once he got it in, he was just like, all right, that's it. You know what I mean? We'll call it. So it could be that he got his soul taken, man, Goggins style. And that's what'll happen when every single time you're trying your hardest to keep the fight on the feet and then you're just on your back every single time. I get it, man. I know what it's like to have a big dude just on top of you. You just don't know what to do. You're just like, all right, man, well, I guess I tap. I don't know what to do here. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's tough, man. Nobody really wants to be in that position. But at the end of the day, man, speedy recovery for the black eye to Darren Till. We know big things are in the future. And Derek Brunson, man, we have to eat all the crow that, we've been talking a bunch of mess in these past couple fights. But listen, he doesn't care. I said it in the pre-show. He knows who he is. He's fighting his fight. And that's what I think is giving him that success. So huge win. And I just have to recap with this one. Fight of the night was Molly McCann versus Fire Fist Ji Yeon Kim. 2 performance bonuses of the night. Paddy, the Baddy, Pimblett, and Tom Aspinall got $50K each. 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, and 4 decisions overall on this card. Very fun card, man. It was a very fun card, and this was a cool little something to give us a 1-week hiatus after this card, and then we moving on to Brian Spann versus Lionheart Anthony Smith, man. So let's do a little matchmaking, AJ. And I think we can run through this one pretty quickly, man. So Tom Aspinall, man, we already talked about it. He called out Blagoy Ivanov. He is number 13. I think he could move up a couple spots. I gave him up to number 11, man, just because I think he's doing a lot better than Walt Harris is. I mean, Blagoy Ivanov has been inactive, and I think that he has to go 1 spot behind Chris Daukaus because, Chris Daukaus' brother's killing the game. You know what I'm saying? Who do you think that Tom Aspinall should fight next, AJ?
That Aspinall should fight next. Sorry. Yep, all right, cool. Yeah, so I definitely think BWP is a good call. I know Aspinall was looking to drop down. He doesn't really want to fight the top dogs yet, which is probably a good call, man. I don't think that's going to happen for him. And there's a lot of fights in the heavyweight division that have already been booked, so it's kind of hard to really put him somewhere nice. I would like to see him against another, not necessarily up and comer, but someone who's kind of had their shot at being the dog and kind of fell in a little short. So we're seeing him in that middle range. I want to see him against Augusto Sakai. I think it'd be a great fight. It's both of them, and we've seen if Augusto Sakai can come and perform, it's going to be a great fight. If he doesn't, kind of like his last fight, it's going to be a Tom Aspinall show all day. Either way, good for Mr. Aspinall out there, man. And who do you think? You going with BWP or what you thinking?
No, I'm not going with BWP. I thought that would be a good one, man. But listen, he's a prominent name in the heavyweight division, but he hasn't fought since May 30th of 2020, and I think he's coming off of a loss. So that fight doesn't make the most sense to me, man. I was going to go a little bit higher with Marcin Tybura at 8, but I felt that was just a little too high. So instead, I'm saying I didn't want to do it. We've been saying this for a while. Like, let's not match him up yet. Let's give him some time. Some time has passed, AJ. I think it's time. Winner of number 10, Chris Daukaus, and number 7, Shamil Abdurakhimov, man. I think that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Chris Daukaus versus Tom Aspinall. Winner moves up that ladder, but they have to face each other eventually, man. Like, I don't know how they're trying to build him up, if they're trying to say, like, wait till we can get, like, a number 3 versus a number 6 or something like that. Like, I don't know, because both of these dudes are on some big streaks, and they're both trying to fight some names, man. So how does that sound? Do you think that's a little too early for the Daukaus brother or what?
Ooh, I think it's a little too early for Tom Aspinall, brother. I think Daukaus might get him, and I'm just a Daukaus fan over here, so that's a little bias on that one. That would be a good scrap. I would like to see him a little bit later, but like you said, man, the time has come. They've gone a couple fights under the belt each. Eventually they got to fight, and I think it's getting close to that time.
Absolutely, man. I think it's also awesome just watching the progression of these fighters since we've been covering this on this program, man. You just see them just kind of going up and up and up. It's like, oh, shit, it's been a couple of months, man. I think I've got to fight now. I don't know. We'll see. Dana, call us. You know what I'm saying? UFC, you know what time it is. All right, light heavyweight division. Khalil Bangkok Reddy Rountree Jr., unless this is even a new iteration of Khalil Rountree. We don't know, man. But we can go a lot of different places with this one, man. He's been in the UFC for quite some time now, man. So it's not like he's some prospect who needs to be fighting just like, 50, 60 ranked fighters. No, he needs to really start getting some competition. So who do you think for Khalil Rountree?
I had a couple different ones on this one, man. But I think a good fight for Khalil Rountree, because I still don't necessarily know if he's proven himself to be Khalil Bangkok Reddy Rountree, or if he's still, the warhorse and kind of back in the back. Kind of the old school way we've seen him fight. So I want to see him fight Maxime Grisham, man. I think it's a good one. Very talented, very hard fight. And if he shows up, it's going to be very fun. If he doesn't, we're going to be able to see, what's going on there. Who do you have and why?
I'm going same exact one, number 30 ranked Maxime Grisham. And the reason why is because he's a 31-9-2 veteran who's coming off a very controversial loss to Dustin Jacoby. A lot of people thought Grisham won that fight. Jacoby is no slouch either. But the thing that is really important to me on this one is that Khalil Rountree has a lot of success against these fighters who can't wrestle or who choose not to wrestle. So Maxime Grisham, he can wrestle, he can grapple, and he could strike, man. So that's the thing is like, all right, Khalil, we know you could beat up the strikers. We get it. Now let's see how you can do against these wrestlers, man, because once you get put on your back and you can't use those big strikes, man, that's when it becomes a problem. And I just think that'd be a really fun matchup. So I'm completely in agreement with you on that one, man. And plus the experience. I mean, Khalil Rountree, not the most experienced fighter in the world. Maxime Grisham, I mean, he's seen it all, done it all. That's a vet of vets right there. So, okay, man, we can move on to the middleweight. Derek Brunson. To me, I'm going to tell you, this is what makes sense to me for Derek Brunson. There is there's 4 fighters that make sense to see Derek Brunson against next. There's only 4 of them. So you tell me, who do you have next? Because Israel Adesanya is the easy choice, but we know the UFC doesn't always operate under a meritocracy. So tell me what's next for Derek Brunson.
Obviously, Israel Adesanya seems like the match to make. Derek Brunson's on a crazy tear, and I just don't necessarily think it's a good match for him, man. I want to see him versus Bobby Knuckles. Oh. I think it'd be a good fight. Robert Whittaker, the Reaper, coming back. If the Reaper can get it done, especially because he's so good, so proficient on the ground, I think it's a good match to see how dangerous Derek Brunson has really started to become. Blonde Brunson comes out, absolutely puts it to Whitaker. Then we're going to see a rematch coming forward, man. I don't know. I'm surprised to say you think there's 4 different fighters. Who are you thinking?
So the 4 people that I have is Israel Adesanya, the rematch. That's easy. If Marvin Vettori won 5 in a row, Kevin Holden was his last win, and then he gets to fight Izzy, I think this is the same thing for Derek Brunson. So why should that not apply to Brunson? So that's my thought for why Izzy is next. The winner of Paulo Costa or Marvin Vettori, but I'm counting those as one each, right? So Paulo Costa, he's number 2 in the division. Marvin Vettori, he's number 4 in the division currently. I'm bumping up Brunson to 4, but nonetheless. And then the last person that everyone is throwing out there is number 3 in the division, Jared Cannonier. So I think that the UFC could say you need to win 1 more before you fight Izzy. And then what happens if... So Brunson said, he's like, listen, man, I ain't broke. I'll sit out and wait until I get that title shot. Like, I don't care, right? But at the same time, what happens if Robert Whitaker versus Israel Adesanya goes to a very close fight and Whitaker gets it, you know what I mean? Then obviously it's an immediate rematch for Izzy. What happens if it's a draw, you know what I'm saying? There's so many weird things that can happen, just like the Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo, you know what I'm saying? Like where just weirdness happened there, you know, the fight, it just, you know, UFC, life happens, all that good stuff, man. So at the end of the day, Israel Adesanya makes the most sense to me, but if not, man, I want to see winner of Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori. I do think Jared Cannonier is the odd man out because he's coming off of a loss in his most recent fight, and the only reason Costa and Vettori are higher is because they've been much more active as of late. That's my opinion. What do you think? That sounds good?
Yeah, I mean, I think that whole top 5, top 6 really needs to start making some moves, man. We've seen a lot of stagnation there, and I just want to see Paulo Costa, you know, fight Marvin Vettori, fight get something going in that little mix-em up, because I do think Derek Brunson could probably beat both of them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, man. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Now let's talk Alex Morono, number 30 in the welterweight division. I say he has no change because he was a short notice replacement, and David Zavada was ranked to number 75, man. So now it's like, dang, that was a big step up in competition very quickly, man. But there's 2 names that I have that make a lot of sense for Morono because I think, listen, man, why? I mean, I know it's a short notice, but you need to be fighting up, not down. That was way down. So who do you have for the great white Alex Morono?
Man, I want to see the Great White versus Jake Matthews, man. I think it's a good fight. Jake Matthews, we need to see a little bit more of the ground game. You were talking about it in the show, man, that we need to see how good the actual ground game is because he's very good at smothering. But I would like to see Jake Matthews because he's very talented, has a lot of submission wins, but also knows how to throw them hands. So I think it'd be a good match and a real good test. I don't know if Alex Moreno is ready for, you know, top 15, top 20 in the division. Those are some serious killers up there. So I'd like to see him get one more that's a little closer to where he is now and then move his way on up. What do you think, Derek? Who's yours?
I just had to remember for a second. I was like, is Jake Matthews still fighting, man? We haven't seen him in a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But all right, shout out. I like the matchup. That's a veteran, so I get it. It's the young versus, I guess Alex Morono isn't super young, but I get it. It's the young versus the old, you know what I'm saying? You got to get him somewhere, get him going somewhere. I figured that I put him up against a veteran, right? So I had 2 names, but this is the one that I think really, like, the winner of this fight, you get up to number 17, 16, 15. You get at that tail end of those top 15 right there. I think he needs to fight the Dirty Bird, Tim Mean, man. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about Alex Morono, big striker, good grappling, good wrestling. We got to talk about Tim Means, man, because Tim Means, great striking, good wrestling, good grappling, all the same things. He's seen it all. He's done it all. He's fought all the names that you can fight. And at the end of the day, man, Tim Means is surging on his own right, man. So I think that, honestly, both of these dudes want to hit that back end of the top 15, and winner of that matchup gets it. How's that sound?
Yeah, I actually saw Tim Means on the roster when I was looking, and I honestly think it's a little bit too hard of a fight for Morono. So it's a very challenging one. Yeah, man, I think it's a good fight to put him up against if you really want to see him tested. So, yeah.
Listen, 9-4 in the UFC, you got to face the actual tests now, man. You ain't a newcomer no more, you dig? So, come on, let's get it. And then lastly, man, in the lightweight division, Paddy Pimblett. He comes in at number 70. No change for him. Vendramini was number 81, believe it or not. But listen, man, we were saying earlier, you can either match him up slowly, build him up, or you could feed him to the dogs. I got a very intriguing narrative in terms of the matchup that I have for him. But who do you have, AJ?
I wanted to see somebody who's a little more proficient on the feet, you know, very dangerous, very long, lanky, someone who's also going to be able to hold himself on the ground so that way we're not just seeing Paddy Pimblett run. Because I do want to build him up in the league, but I don't want to see him just fight a bunch of cans and we're just building him up way too fast and then sending him to the dogs right after that. You know, give him some good talent, give him some good a good resume under there. So I want to see the violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena get in there in the mix versus Paddy Pimblett. I think that'd be a good fight. It's a very hard one, even though Luis Pena is a little lower on the rankings. What do you think?
I like the matchup, man. But we got to make sure homeboy is all good and cleared to fight. Last time that I heard about Bob Ross is, the violent Bob Ross is he was like in jail. You know what I'm saying? Like he had.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, some mental stuff, some depression stuff going on. So listen, with speedy recovery and all that, man. All the best to you, Luis Pena, man. We're big fans of you on this platform, but that's just the one contingency. So the man has to just be able to fight. I'm gonna go with the man I talked about earlier in Mason Jones, the former Cage Warriors double champ at 155 and 170. And the reason why I'm going here is because I think that the narrative makes too much sense. When we're talking about Paddy Pimblett, two-time Cage Warriors champion or two-division Cage Warriors champion versus Mason Jones, two-division Cage Warriors champion who hasn't had that much success in the UFC, I think it's a perfect matchup because, like I said, man, it's not like Mason Jones has come on, he's just starched everybody. He lost his first fight. He got a no contest in the second in a fight that he was very clearly winning. But nonetheless, man, two blonde dudes going together, scrapping, two dudes who really bring the fight. I think it would be a banger. And listen, if they brought in Mason Jones, not with the same star appeal, but basically with that same type of trajectory as a Paddy Pimblett, I think it makes sense for these two dudes to fight and see who's really going to take off. Because you cannot have them in the same division, both be the same cash cow, same star, right? It doesn't necessarily make sense. So I'm honestly a little bit confused on why they're not hyping up Mason Jones the way that they're hyping up Paddy Pimblett. I know Paddy Pimblett is a much bigger star power, but at the same time, they basically have done the same things in their career. Nonetheless, I will say that Mason Jones has a rematch coming up with Alan Patrick, which, listen, he already beat him, allegedly, you know what I mean, before the no contest, before he took the veteran move, and it was either an eye poke or a nut shot or something where he's like, I can't continue. He was getting worked, though. So I expect Mason Jones to get past him once again, and then I want to see Paddy Pimblett versus Mason Jones. I think it would be really fun. Two former double champs fighting against each other, and it'd probably be a nice little, main card bout, too. So I think that could be fun. So unless you got anything else, folks, that's the matchmaking. What do you think, AJ?
No, I like that. Yeah. That's the matchmaking, brother. It was a good one.
Yeah, cool. Great one, as always, folks. We predict in the future, putting on our fortune teller hats or whatever the case may be. You know what time it is, man. Drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we got one piece of business to do before we get out of here, AJ. That's the news wire. And I just got a couple of things, word on the street, man. Giga Chikadze, you know what I mean? Big star just a week ago, right? You know what I'm saying? He got a huge win over, look at that's how fast the media cycle moves. Who did Giga just? Oh, Edson Barboza. Come on, how could I forget something like that? Big win for the Ninja, man. But he tells MMA Junkie that he is not happy with his ranking. He says he was number 10, he beat number 9, but it was not just a regular number 9, and it was not just a decision, not a split decision, not a close fight. He says, I kicked the shit out of people. So this is what happened this weekend. When you beat somebody like Barboza and you're number 10 and he's number 9, you don't just go up one more and become number 8. I need to be in the top 5. What do you think about that, AJ?
I can see the logic. I also see the MMA math, how it doesn't work that way. And I feel like if you want a top 5 spot, you go and fight the top 5 guy and get that spot. Yeah. I do think Giga is a top 5 fighter, though. I don't think. I think he should prove it and earn it first off, instead of just claim it. I disagree. Even when Khabib was saying, please give me the pound for pound number 1 ranking. I agree. Like probably pound for pound, one of the best fighters. But I think you should go out there and get it instead of just asking for it. So yeah, I definitely I do think Giga is that kind of material, but come on, bro, don't ask, go take it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And he also continues the quote by saying, I'm just upset about the ranking. I want to see myself as one of the top guys because I want to fight for the title very soon, as fast as possible. I want to be the replacement for the title fight. If not, I want to fight Max or Yair. That's Max Holloway or Yair Rodriguez. Someone that would get me to the title, even the Korean Zombie. You know what? He says, even if they give me Calvin Kattar, I wouldn't be upset. So he just wants to be in that mix to fight for the title. But just like you're saying, man, he's on a crazy streak. He's doing the do, man. But the one part that I think he needs to build up, and that's the reason why you don't get title shots as easy in the UFC, is you got to be the star, the enigma. You got to have the personality, and he doesn't have the greatest personality. He says funny things from time to time, but he's not very charismatic on the mic. I'm a big fan of him. You know what I mean? I love the fight style. I love when he was on the podcast with Master Rafael Cordero. You know what I mean? Kings MMA. They do a little podcast. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Just talk a little more shit or something, and that might get you a title shot. Honestly, it sucks that it has to be that way, but that's kind of where it is. So that's that. I mean, Giga Chikadze is going to be a champion in the future. We both said it. We both believe believe it on this program. Not a matter of if, only when. So shout out to you, Giga Chikadze. Now, this next thing that I have here, AJ, man, I just wanted to bring it up really quickly because we talk about in MMA, it's only a matter of time until somebody dies in the cage. You know what I mean? I don't want to be too frank, too vulgar about it, but there's really only a matter of time, especially when I've seen some reffing, man. I just saw this one. It was a female ref, and I don't want to throw women under the bus here, but a lot of people were up in arms about it, where it was someone getting choked out, and the ref was just staring at him, and they were asleep, and they were just staring at him. It was maybe 20 seconds of them being asleep, still getting choked out, because, you know, as a fighter, they say you don't stop until the ref pulls you off, and they're like, someone could literally die that way. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be really careful here. So I just want to say, even though people talk about MMA still to this day, believe it or not, as human cockfighting, or you know what I'm talking about, man. All that nonsense they try to throw on the MMA fighters. Report in boxing, Jeanette Zacarias Zapata, at 18 years old, dies after a boxing bout in Montreal. And I don't even want to get into it. Rest in peace, man. You know, sympathies to the people who have lost a loved one, man. That's not what I'm here to talk about. But I just want to kind of talk about the story really quickly and relate it overall to combat sports. So it says, on Saturday, Zapata faced Marie-Pierre Hold in a pro boxing bout at IGA Stadium in Canada. After sustaining a number of powerful shots at the close of round 4, Zapata was unable to return to her corner. The referee went in to stop the fight, and then Zapata went into convulsions before being stretchered out of the arena and transported to the hospital, and then it was announced that she had passed away after. So the point is that in boxing, man, this happens all the time in boxing. Obviously not like every day, every week, but this happens far more frequently than mixed martial arts, where you're seeing people dying from damage, accumulative blows to the head in the cage, or in the ring, excuse me, right? So with that being said, I just want your opinion on this one, man. We know the history of boxing. We know how many people have died from boxing injuries and things of that nature. Why do you think boxing is still considered somehow, some way, a safer sport than mixed martial arts, even though the results do not speak to that reality?
You know what's crazy, Derek? I've had this argument with so many people. I still don't understand it. A lot of people think, I think it's just, they think since it's such an old timey event that's gone on for years, it's almost like being grandfathered into it's a safe thing. I've had this argument back and forth many times. There was a guy we worked with. I don't remember his name, man, redhead dude, but he would always say that boxing is much more of a technical skill, and where MMA is just a grudge match and it's a brawl and blah blah blah. Like, not at all, man. MMA. Don't get me wrong. Both sports are very dangerous. Both of them require a lot of skill and a lot of talent. But boxing is just so dangerous to the head. And we've seen it for so many times, especially when you're sparring, 12 rounds of getting popped in the head continuously. It's dangerous. And I don't get the argument that people put up that it's safer because the gloves are bigger. You're only punching instead of using kicks. Like, I think the amount of damage, as well as the amount of times you're getting struck constantly in the same spot over and over. Sure, you get hit in the bread box, you get put down, but everybody's swinging for the head. So, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I think MMA is far superior, maybe not superior in the sport, but it's just a completely different thing, even though they're both very dangerous, man. What do you think?
Well, I would agree with you, man. I think the thing that people who have never laced them up before have a hard time understanding, and who have never felt a punch, the impact of a boxing glove versus a 4-ounce glove, and I felt both. The boxing glove hurts a lot more, man, because it's a bigger thing. You know what I mean? You got especially, let's say you're in sparring, right? So you got 16-ounce gloves on. Yeah, maybe you got headgear on, maybe you don't, but it's a 16-ounce glove on top of your hand. The gravity times math, just go do your physics on that one, man, and it's cracking into your head. The problem is in boxing is that it's hip up. So it's like you have such a limited place to hit. And all I'm trying to do is just tag that head up all day long, head snapping back, snapping back. In MMA, you kick in the legs, you hit in the body, you kicking, and then you hit in the arms when you're trying to hit the head or whatever. You're piecing up the head. A lot of people are headhunters in MMA, don't get me wrong, but it's just you have so many more weapons. It's a more diverse offensive approach, man. So I do think that it is a little troubling, the narrative on it, the stigma of mixed martial arts in general, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, man, that's just the last thing you you ever want to see in combat sports in general. So once again, rest in peace to those who have lost their lives participating in the thing that they love to do, playing in this sport. But this isn't a game, man. That's why we say you can't play fighting. You know what I mean? You can play basketball, you can play football, you can play all these sports. You cannot play fighting, man, because there's real life consequences at the end of the day, man. So just wanted to put that one out there. She was 18 years old, man. So it's just a very, very sad story. Condolences once again. And the last thing before we get out of here, AJ, Oscar De La Hoya, he was infamously supposed to be fighting Vitor Belfort recently in a boxing match. However, Oscar De La Hoya has contracted COVID-19 and he is now out of the fight. So, you know, listen, speedy recovery to him. But the big news here is that they have contacted a short notice replacement, aka Evander Holyfield, to fight Vitor Belfort. When in your mind did you ever conjure up that even a possibility of elite heavy or not an elite boxing champion in Evander Holyfield, the real deal Holyfield, fighting Vitor Belfort, the specimen, the dude who at one point on his UFC little known facts says weakness unknown? Come on, what are we talking about, brother? Did you think this would ever happen?
Never in a million years. I saw this fight announced. First off, I don't know, how old is Evander Holyfield? Do you know?
Too damn old to be boxing. Because listen, I think it was in California. They're not allowing him to fight because he's too old. So yeah,
too damn old to be boxing, man. And yeah, against Vitor Belfort, that's interesting. It's gonna. I was interested to see how Oscar held up against Vitor. I'm really interested to see how Evander's gonna hold up. And it is in boxing, so it is their own sport. But it's gonna. Yeah, I was damn near shocked. Never thought that was coming. It was interesting, man.
So I actually do have the age in front of me, though. Holyfield is 58 years old, and Vitor Belfort is 44 years old. So this was why I brought this up, not because of the spectacle, because of the show. It's because of, listen, I get money. I get it. People need money, and people want money. And if this brings money, people will say, fuck it. If I got to go in there and do a 6-round boxing match, whatever, it is what it is. I'll take my blows. I'll get knocked out because the money is worth it. But listen, I just want to know, do you condone this circus, this whatever you want to call it, man? I honestly think boxing is becoming a laughingstock at this point. It's already been on a downwards trajectory in terms of popularity in America. But I want to ask you, do you condone this whatsoever?
No, not at all. I think they should put a stop to it. If in all of the world, if you heard a 58-year-old man was fighting, you'd be like, bro, like, come on, man, get him out of there. And like, you don't want to see your grandpa get beat up. Like, come on, man. That's the worst. I don't condone it at all. I think somebody should take the cocaine and the power away from Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Entertainment out there, because he's making some crazy calls. That's wild. Yeah, no, I'm with you. So I misspoke earlier. I said that Evander Holyfield wasn't able to fight in California, but it's somewhere else. It might be Vegas or somewhere else where he's not able to fight, because it says the interesting wrinkle, to all of this, according to the article that this was reported on, is that Holyfield needs to be approved by the California State Athletic Commission to go ahead so this fight could take place at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. But if they won't approve it, they will move the bout to Florida, and then they will still go on with that date, man. So literally they're trying to duck and swerve and say, like, whoever will allow this 58-year-old man to fight, let's do it. But clearly people have their reservations. And I think it was like 10 years ago, man, one of the commissions was like, nah, Holyfield, we're not going to let you box anymore, dude. You're just too old. You got to hang it up. So listen, man, that's why I say, like, you never see these old dudes saying, let's get into a cage and let's put 4-ounce gloves on and let's do an MMA match. You'll see a boxing match. Why? Because they deem it to be safer. But at the end of the day, you're getting popped up in your head all day long. And just not a good look, man. It's not a good look. So that's it for the news wire, folks. Drop a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. And then clearly, AJ, you see, that's what we have to look forward to in a couple of weeks. Anthony Smith, versus Ryan Spann. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of bouts on this one. So give me just quick fire takes on these bouts that I'm going to pop up. We got Gustavo Lopez versus Alatang Haley, man. What you think about that match? Ooh, the Iron Turtle. He's back.
No,
that's a fun one.
That's Jung Young Park, man. This is a different one, man. It's okay. I know we get them mixed up, but this is one of the heavy hitting Chinese fighters that we have versus Gustavo.
But doesn't he have a great nickname too?
Yeah, it's I think it's called the Mongolian Murderer or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Alatang Haley's an absolute gangster. I'm sorry for messing up the nickname, but he's an absolute gangster as well, man.
Absolutely. Joaquin Buckley versus Antonio Arroyo. What you think about that?
Ooh, okay, Buckley with Arroyo. It's gonna be fun, man. Yeah,
there we go. So we got Arman Sarukian, right? He's supposed to be fighting Dan Hooker. They were trying to put that together. Instead, he gets Christian Yagos, man. I think that should be a fun matchup. What about you?
Okay, I like that one. Yeah.
Okay, and then I guess two more to announce. We got Jim Miller, right? The OG veteran and Jim Miller facing off against Nicholas Mota. And if you know about Nicholas Mota, you know it's going to be a fucking banger of a fight. Do you know about Nicholas Mota, AJ?
I don't, Derek. I'm going to do some research, brother.
Go watch his Contender Series fight, man, because he earned a contract in stunning fashion. This is going to be a really, really fun matchup. Jan Kutalaba versus Devin Clark. What do you think about that for the co-main?
Devin Clark, Jan Kutalaba, I think that's going to be a banger, brother. Someone's going to sleep.
Absolutely. And then all of these bouts, folks, clearly are topped off by Lionheart Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann, Superman Ryan Spann. It'll be a really, really fun one. But that's what we have to look forward to in just a couple of weeks. We got AJ, we got Sasha Bear making an appearance, you know, the whole entire nine. Listen, folks, I hope you enjoyed the episode. We do this week in and week out. So please drop a like, subscribe, and rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to your podcast so that more fans can reach us, more combat sports fans can come see what the hype is about, get their picks on. AJ's been on a very hot streak as of late, man. So if you betting, bet my man's picks. Bet my picks too, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm back at it. You see my numbers overall is nice. I'm clearly above 500. We doing it. But that's it for us, folks. AJ, got any last words for the people?
No, man, it's fun. It's unfortunate we got a week off, but you know we'll be back stronger and even better for the Smith Spann card, man. It's going to be a great one. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button like my boy Derek's saying. Help us out a little bit, and we'll keep bringing you that fire.
Absolutely. So that's it for us, folks. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 8 a.m. Not next week, but the week after. You dig. Until next time, folks. Peace.